2008, 17 full years ago, was the first time I stepped off a plane in Taoyuan Airport here in Taiwan, thinking that I'd be spending 1 year, maybe 2, living here in Taiwan. But what I didn't know is that Taiwan would quickly become my second home. Yes, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan. This is my life in Taiwan. And yes, I have been in this country for 17 years. And in today's video, what I plan to do is explain a little bit about how over those 17 years, my relationship with Taiwan has developed and grown, and what I've learned about myself and my relationship with this awesome country over those 17 years. Now, of course, other than the birth of my son in 2012, last year, 2024, was probably the most significant of those 17 years that I've lived in Taiwan, when I learned something very interesting about myself and my relationship with this country, and that's when I was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease. And recently, I made 2 very personal and very popular videos talking about my Parkinson's disease that probably attracted a lot of new viewers to the channel. But in this video, I'm going to avoid talking about the Parkinson's disease and instead hope that those new viewers that have found my channel recently can learn a little bit more positive things about me and how my time in Taiwan is much, much more than just a diagnosis. I'm not defining my life or my channel by my disease. So although there will be an update on my Parkinson's situation in future videos, this video is going to be much more positive, happy, and hopefully interesting to any new viewers. But as for now, time to get back to this foreigner talks about his life in Taiwan video. Okay, so this wouldn't be a foreigner talks about his life in Taiwan video without mentioning how awesome the people are. And here I am surrounded by Taiwanese people going about their business at the morning market, picking up their fruits, veggies and meat to take home and cook a delicious Taiwanese dinner. Oh, boys. Sorry, I thought this was a good idea at the start. Yeah, bang bang bang. This is a ridiculous place to stand. I'm gonna come closer to the camera. But yes, Taiwanese people are what makes this country great. I don't care if I'm gonna get criticized for kissing up, brown nosing, pai ma pi. The Taiwanese people are the fundamental reason that I'm still here after 17 years. It was my first day in Taiwan when I needed to go to Zhongyu department store from Taichung train station, and I asked a local, a young guy, for directions, and instead of directing me there, he walked me there 1.5 kilometers, half an hour walk, whatever it was. Just one example of how amazingly friendly, warm and welcoming Taiwanese people are. Yes, maybe just to foreigners. Yes, maybe they are not so friendly to each other. But when I'm talking about myself and my 17 years here in Taiwan, I have countless experiences of being welcomed, helped and integrated into society here by the locals. If you're a foreigner watching this in Taiwan, please comment down below with your stories of how you've been helped and welcomed by Taiwanese people. I want the world to know it's not just YouTubers creating these positive experiences out of nothing. There are amazing stories of how foreigners have been helped and welcomed here in Taiwan. So in relation to the video title, what does that mean I've learned about myself and my relationship with Taiwan? It's taught me that another society can welcome other people with open arms, without prejudice, without judgment, maybe a little bit of curiosity, which I'll get into a bit later. But yes, I'm not too sure my own country is looked upon as welcoming and as friendly as Taiwanese people are. Very hot topic regarding international politics and immigration. But personally, yes, I've learned that Taiwanese people are some of the warmest, friendliest, and most welcoming people I could ever have wished to meet. I think that's enough about the friendliness of Taiwanese people. I'm gonna pick up some fruit, veggies and meat, go home and cook myself a delicious meal. But first, of course, we need to hear from today's video sponsor, Verizon. Now, talking of living abroad for 17 years, one thing I've learned the hard way is how much I rely on the internet to stay connected. Whether that's staying connected to family at home in the UK, my beautiful son William in South Africa, the news, international affairs, and of course, let's be honest, streaming British TV shows and football matches. So that's where today's video sponsor, NordVPN, has been a total lifesaver. Whether I'm on dodgy cafe Wi-Fi, traveling around Taiwan, or just trying to watch something that's geo-blocked in the UK, NordVPN keeps everything fast, safe and private. It's especially useful for expats like me so that I can access websites that may be restricted in Taiwan, can use public Wi-Fi without worrying about my data, and even switch my virtual online location back to the UK so that I can access all of my British TV shows and, more importantly, bank notifications telling me how much money I don't have, and what's best, my one account works on all my devices, iPhone, computer, iPad, and even my Mi Box for watching TV. And with the Threat Protection Pro, I have many features offering me protection from malicious websites, infectious malware that can cause harm to my computer, and online safety without it. And the great thing is that NordVPN are offering my viewers an exclusive deal where if you click the link in the description down below or go to nordvpn.com/lifeintaiwan, they'll give you not only an exclusive discount, but also 4 months extra free service when you sign up to one of their 2-year annual plans. NordVPN are simply the biggest, best, and safest VPN on the market, so go check out the link in the description down below and make yourself safer online with just one click. Okay, so thanks once again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video, but seeing as we've already talked about culture and the people in this video, the third most important thing in Taiwan is food. Food is life here, and being a British guy, that's something very new to me. Our food is often very criticized for its lack of variety, but Taiwanese people are all foodies. And over the past 17 years, I've certainly joined the clan and found out that I'm also a foodie. Yes, I'll admit it, stinky tofu scared the hell out of me at first, but now I'm all in. Beef noodles, Loro fan, bubble milk tea. I am absolutely 100% a foodie here in Taiwan, and I don't think that would have happened if I'd spent the last 17 years in the UK. I've learned over the past 17 years that Taiwan simply offers one of the best varieties of foods. Whether you're eating Taiwanese food, international food, or even convenience store food, Taiwanese food is absolutely world class. And you will be told by some foreigners that the food is scary, ugly, oily, salty, but it's not until you've lived here for a long time and you've genuinely been to some of the nicer, more interesting, more low-key restaurants, let's say, that you can find the Taiwanese diamonds in the rough when it comes to food. In summary, as I said earlier, over the past 17 years, I've become a foodie, and if you want to watch more of my food videos, there's a link in the top corner to some of the more interesting foods that I've eaten. Go check it out. But as for now, time for me to get stuck into my lunch and then on to the next point. And that's going to bring me to point number 4 in this list of things that I've learned, and that's Chinese, the local language spoken here in Taiwan. And yes, I haven't learned Chinese perfectly or fluently, but I have learned that learning Chinese certainly isn't easy, but it is worth it. I personally kind of ignored learning Chinese for the first few years of my life here, and that's because I didn't think I was staying, didn't think it was possible that I could ever learn Chinese. In fact, in English, we actually use Chinese as an idiom. If something is Chinese to you, it means that it's impossible to ever understand it. And that's how I felt before I started learning Chinese. But I did find that it's absolutely worth it, much easier than I thought. 对，我的中文很烂，我的中文不够好，但是我可以对话，我可以点食物，我可以调情，我可以生活，用中文生活。但是我知道我的中文不够好， but it is much easier than people think to learn Chinese. And also about that point I mentioned earlier regarding Taiwanese people being friendly to you. If you do speak Chinese, even a little basic Chinese with bad pronunciation, terrible vocabulary, and even worse grammar, such as someone like myself, then Taiwanese people will respond much more friendly to you and be less afraid of you, more likely to communicate with you. So yeah, learning Chinese isn't easy, but I did learn that it's definitely worth it. It's worth making that step to cross that line and ingratiate yourself a little more into Taiwanese society. I'm sure many of you have seen the story on Ku's Instagram when I filmed his podcast, where I told the story about trying to use my Chinese to get my motorcycle back. Spectacular failure, but a perfect example of why learning Chinese perfectly, even the English alphabet in Chinese, is definitely worth it and will help you ingratiate yourself into Taiwanese society. And not to harp on too much about the people and how the people have affected my life here in Taiwan, they are so willing to help you learn and try to understand what you're talking about. Even when you're speaking terrible Chinese, the people here are much more patient than an English person would be. If a Taiwanese person was in their restaurant or their business speaking poor English, we definitely don't have the patience for non-English speakers that Taiwanese people have for non or poor Chinese speakers. So yeah, another point regarding language related to people. But as the reason that we learn language is to communicate with other people, I think it's fair to have another point related to the Taiwanese people and how friendly they are when it comes to language. So that's pretty much language covered, which brings me on to my next point, which is going to be about how the lifestyle in Taiwan is completely different to what I knew back in England before I came here. Over the past 17 years, I've learned how two different countries can be so different regarding lifestyle. And when I'm talking about lifestyle, I'm covering everything regarding safety, convenience, and general atmosphere amongst the population. And no joke, I know it's said very often, Taiwan is probably the most convenient place on earth. You can do pretty much anything you want to do within reason 24 hours a day. You want to drink, there's 24-hour bars. You want to shop, there's 24-hour shops. You want to go sing KTV, there's certainly 24-hour KTVs. And of course, let's not forget about the old cliche, 7-Eleven convenience stores available for you to do almost anything you need to do administration-wise, 24 hours a day. And of course, I learned about Taiwan's convenience very early on in my 17 years. It hasn't taken me 17 years to understand and learn about it, but it's definitely developed over the past 17 years. People have become more reliant on certain services, certain apps, certain shops that Taiwan has to offer. And if I were to go back 17 years, there's a lot of things that people would miss regarding the convenience. I also mentioned safety as part of lifestyle. One of my most popular videos is how safe Taiwan is, how honest Taiwanese people are when it comes to returning wallets and lost property. But not just that kind of safety, also the safety regarding crime. Me and Prozzy used to live together in a house, first floor entryway, never locked the door. The only person that ever broke in was Kiwi, who we found sleeping on our sofa once or twice after a long night out. But yeah, safety certainly over the past 17 years has been something that I've taken for granted. I don't feel in danger, I don't feel threatened, I don't feel my property is ever in jeopardy. This is something I think a lot of countries should be embarrassed about, how unsafe they are, how unsafe they make Taiwanese people feel when Taiwanese people travel to Europe or North America and they're warned about pickpockets or street robberies or racism, this kind of thing. In Taiwan, safety is just taken for granted. And over the past 17 years, oh my God, why am I getting emotional about that? I've taken it for granted how safe I felt over the past 17 years. Now, for my sixth point regarding things that I've learned about me and my relationship with Taiwan over the past 17 years, I don't want everything to be so positive and happy and full of rainbows and butterflies. There is some things that are going to be disagreeable or things that I struggle with, and there are definitely some cultural aspects to life that I just don't agree with or find difficult here in Taiwan. I've learned that I don't particularly like being asked about my salary. As a teacher, not too bad. Everyone knows the salary of a cram school teacher in Taiwan, $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000 a month. So when somebody asks me that, it doesn't bother me too much. But as a YouTuber, as a self-employed creator, some months are better than others, and some months are certainly much worse than others. So when someone asks me my salary as a YouTuber, it gets a little bit personal, a little bit frustrating. Number one, that I can't give a solid answer. It seems like I'm lying or trying to hide something. When I tell them, 每个月不一样 or 很不稳定, people tend to think I'm hiding the fact that I've got millions in the bank. That isn't true. And it's not just questions about salary that are a little bit frustrating and personal, whether I'm married, whether I have a girlfriend, if I have kids. All very normal questions that friends might ask, or maybe a first date will ask. But when it's the person on the bus or the taxi driver or the person in line at the coffee shop, it gets a little bit personal. And I know you're going to tell me this is just curiosity, it's not people being rude. I get it, but I just simply wouldn't do the same in England. And I'm pretty sure most of the Western countries don't have this cultural aspect of intense curiosity, let's call it. Comment down below your thoughts on this point, because it's a hot topic and something that a lot of foreigners want to know Taiwanese opinion about. Anyway, let's get to my final point, where we're going to talk about how Taiwan has changed me. Yes, 17 years living in the same country, the same city, is definitely something that is going to have changed me, but it's almost impossible to measure because I don't know what kind of person I would have been if I'd lived in England or another country or another city in Taiwan. I only really know what I've become because of those 17 years in Taiwan. And I like to think that I've become a better person. Who knows? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I became a massive piece of shit. I'm sure there's a few girls in Taiwan that would attest to that. But I can confidently say that living in Taiwan for 17 years has made me different to how I would have been if I'd stayed in the UK. I see the lives my friends have, I see their attitudes to life, and they're very different to mine. They're much more pragmatic, much more simple, would I say? And yes, I chose to be a YouTuber, which also added to the complexity of my life and how I've changed over the past 17 years. But I definitely wouldn't change a thing regarding choosing to live in Taiwan. Of course, it would have been perfect if William could have stayed in Taiwan, or if things had worked out differently with his mum. And of course, my recent diagnosis with Parkinsons has certainly changed me. I'll get into more about that in other videos. But yeah, I think compared to the 24-year-old guy that arrived in Taiwan in 2008, I like to think that I'm a little more humble. Difficult for a YouTuber to say, I know. I've learned how to be a mature adult in Taiwan. I'm not saying that I've always been a mature adult. I just learned how important it is in certain situations to be a little bit more mature and a little bit more refined with yourself, not so arrogant as I was when I arrived 17 years ago. And of course, the one thing I did learn about myself is that I know how to be a father because of Taiwan. Of course, my main influence on fatherhood came from my own dad and learning how to love your son unconditionally. But as I've lived in Taiwan for so long, I'm only surrounded by Taiwanese fathers. And as a teacher for 12 of those 17 years, I got to see the great things that some fathers did for their kids. Also got to see some of the mistakes, the more negative things that some of those fathers did. And that was all learned in Taiwan. So to anybody that's had an influence at all on my life over the past 17 years, I want to say a big thanks to you for shaping me and creating the person that I've become. By far not a perfect person. Huge improvements still to be made, flaws to be corrected, and mistakes to be learned from. But I have to say, these 17 years in Taiwan have been absolutely amazing. And I want to thank anybody that's had an influence on me. Even those girls that think I'm a massive piece of shit. They helped me become a slightly better person. Maybe, who knows? Let's not get too personal. Let's just enjoy the beautiful scenery of this beautiful restaurant. In fact, you can see Taichung right in the distance down there. That's the Meridian Hotel right outside the train station. So we've got a beautiful countryside scenery with the cityscape in the background. A real good representation of how beautiful Taiwan can be and how hardworking people are in the city. What the hell am I talking about? Where is this video going? No idea. Want to wrap it up. So the only thing left for me to say is don't forget to go check out nordvpn.com/lifeintaiwan to get your 4 months extra free when you purchase one of their 2-year annual plans, and keep yourself safer online with just one click. But as for now, and as always, time for me to say goodbye. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time in my life in Taiwan. Peace. Bye-bye. Wow. Didn't expect it to go that way, but there you go.